Conestoga Valley Board of School Directors. I'd like to welcome everyone that's in the room, as well as those that are online. Would you please join me in the pledge of the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Martin, may we have attendance, please?
We have 8 school directors present tonight with Mr. Talley absent.
And we have a quorum. This is our work session. It's one of 2 meetings per month in which we receive most of the informational presentations as well as discuss and deliberate future decisions. There may also be some action voting items required on timely issues or to meet time-restrained guidelines. Our meetings observe the requirements of the school law, legislative directives, the original Act 84 Sunshine Law, all subsequent amendments, judicial rulings, and applicable regulations, and our school district policies to the best of our understanding and ability. All agendas and public documents are posted on the district website. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? If not, we have an agenda. Dr. Hartman, superintendent's comments.
Okay, good evening. My comments will be brief tonight as we're getting fully staffed here slowly but surely. We only have two new individuals to introduce tonight, and one of them's not completely new to us. So first off, we have Laura Sullivan joining us. Laura's previously been in front of the board before. She was introduced as a long-term sub, I believe, a while back, I think prior to my tenure here. And she was slated to be doing another long-term substitute assignment with us at the middle school this year, but we actually had found a permanent contracted position for her. So she's going to be joining us as a 7th grade language arts teacher. Laura graduated from California University of Pennsylvania, but she's also been a very active parent for several years in the district, very involved with Volunteers in Action and some other organizations before becoming a substitute with us a couple years ago. So we're happy to have her on board. And then second, we have Shirley Fantozzi, who's middle school, also from the middle school learning support. She comes to us with 7 years teaching experience. Most recently, she spent some time with the Solanco School District and Topolhocken School District and the Berks County Intermediate Unit. And prior to that, she actually spent a few years teaching in Columbus, Ohio. So she has her bachelor's degree in early childhood and special education from Wittenberg University in Ohio and a master's in social studies from Wilkes University. So welcome, Shirley. That concludes my comments.
We welcome you both. Are there any board comments on district activities? Okay, if not, would anyone from the public like to address the board on any of our agenda items? If not, we'll move right on to discussion action items, starting with Mr. Johnson. And Frank.
We're going to tag team.
Oh, you are dragging today, aren't you?
It's Monday.
Monday.
It's Monday, and what's it say, difficult on it?
Difficult what?
It just says difficult, but it says difficult airway.
Oh, I
but-
need one of those.
Yeah.
I hope your airways improved.
We're good. Just warning everybody else, I guess, that, I don't know. My daughter thought it was funny, but she didn't see the airway part.
All right, I will go through a couple of the change orders and Ken will do the last one. The site 20 that's there, this is for the middle school. There was a couple sinkholes that were discovered early on in the project, and we had the site contractor correct them. So there's 2 in that site 20. And site 21, which you have up there, involves some additional stone that was imported for the exterior basketball court to the side of the middle school. That allowed us to fix the grades out there and actually helped us raise the basketball court. So it's flush with the cafeteria patio. If we didn't do that, we would have had like a ramp condition out there for ADA. And so if you've seen it or if you go out there, it slopes straight up into the cafeteria patio and slopes
It made for
away.
a nicer installation
Yeah.
at the end of the day, so.
So that was a good decision there. And there was a little bit of orange fencing needed for the site contractor, temporary construction fencing there. So that is site 21. HVAC 08, we've talked about the fire dampers that were needed by code previously. So this is the resultant change order. It's actually quite a bit less than they had estimated. And so that went off pretty much without a hitch this summer. Those are the fire dampers that were needed in the mezzanine for the HVAC system. In every pod, they were installed over the summer, June, July, August, systematically through. So that's the cost of the dampers and the install.
There were a couple other costs related to this, but we kept them outside of the contract because we directly contracted with those two companies to do the work. There was some masonry work needed. And there
Was this one of those items that was missing from the plans?
We had, we didn't show dampers in the mezzanine because we didn't think they were required and the code plans were approved that way. And it wasn't until we got into construction when the code inspector said, oh, you actually need these dampers as part of the entire system. So that's why we ended up putting them in.
The installation of those went a lot better than everyone was anticipating, which was great. I think they kept looking at it from above down on what they were gonna have to do. But once they started working from underneath and pulled some ductwork out, they realized, oh, this isn't gonna be as bad as we thought. So we tracked it. So we basically have tickets in a sense for all the work that they did. So they're not inflating their numbers or their costs. So they were being monitored on a daily basis on what they were doing. So.
And the other one there, Smoketown GC07, that was requested additional line striping in the interior gym. That's gonna go, including a logo in the middle of the circle.
This will make the gym look more like the gymnasium at the middle school with the logo in the center, the keys painted, couple additional lines for volleyball on the secondary courts and things. Just because we also envision that gym being utilized a lot in the evenings beyond just, the day-to-day operations. So make it as flexible as possible and have all the options there for it. So fair price. We actually added some additional lines to the middle school gym once we were under construction, and I think for about the same amount of work, very similar price.
Any questions on those?
And I'll take the last one. As you've all seen, the IFAS work, the new change in the veneer, the color change, what was mauve, maybe pink-ish, salmon colored. I never quite knew what colors they were. We've changed it now to match what we did last year across the main entrance. When they were going through, they discovered some additional caulking that was recommended, so I directed them to do that. As part of the contract, Tremco actually comes out and does inspections. Because how quickly the project moved and how well they were moving, they credited us back quite a few of those inspection days, so it cut that additional work down to $1,551. So Paramont's a local company, has done this. Also, this project was well under budget when they bid it and awarded it originally, so we're still well with under where the budget was. So then next year, the plan is to do the courtyard. So, and all
It's
those
nice
areas
to
will
hear
be dressed
something.
up and.
Nice to hear something about the middle school referred to as went quickly.
Yes, yep, understood, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, if you've been past the middle school recently, you've seen a lot of railings up and changes like in the front look of the building. There's also railings in the rear of the building. They're coming later this week
Mhm.
to do I think the last bit of the handrails. So that being said, I believe we can schedule the code official to come in to look at getting a final occupancy. So everything else that's on that list, I think there's one item that we have to work on yet that I've got in the works, but just boiler inspections. But that's working that through our insurance company. So other than that, I think all the other boxes have been checked as far as what's been on their list and what we need and all of that, so.
Will that still leave us a punch list of?
We still have
Correct,
punch list items,
Yeah.
but this is still a huge hurdle we're getting past. So if we can get that not from a TCO to a CO, that would be huge, so.
Okay. Any questions?
Thank you much.
May I ask
Thank you.
one
Yeah.
related question? Have we worked at all on the kind of signage we're going to use both in the building itself as well as how to get back there?
There is signage throughout the building. There is one element internally that I talked to Dr. Menzinger about was directional signage within the building. So if you come into a hallway, it's a cafeteria this way,
Yes,
gymnasium, this, So her and I are gonna sit down and
And
work
back
through
in the
that.
offices too?
Correct, yeah, understood. Yeah, that's a little bit of a maze back there.
Yes, it is.
I've also been working with a representative from Fast Signs. They have come out, we have toured the site, we have looked at where to place things. Dina Henry has given me naming of all the fields. So again, we're gonna incorporate that. So we're looking at it campus-wide because once this building moves over to the old middle school and there's a bigger picture we really gotta look at than just the building up there.
And the size of the campus and all the driveways, you sort of get the
Exactly.
feeling, gee, if I go in this driveway, I can probably
Yeah.
get there, and you can't.
Understood. Well, the way the old middle school was originally built, you couldn't. I mean,
Yeah,
once
that's
you
right,
got on
there's
one
only one
side,
way
you
to
were
get around
stuck.
back, yeah.
Yeah. So we fixed that too. So yeah, we drove the entire campus looking at how the traffic flows and where good places would be for signage.
Good.
We're actually gonna use a lot of the light poles.
While we're
So,
at it, can we fix the sign at the entrance of this driveway so it's legible?
well, that would be replaced. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I don't know
Yeah.
what it says, I
I-
assume it says Conestoga Valley, but it's a mystery.
But the old one in the corner,
Yeah, the
or-
one with the brick side
the one with
supports.
the brick, yeah, that goes way back.
I know, but you
It
can't
does.
read it at all, ever, under
I-
any circumstances.
We'll take a look at what we can do there.
Yeah.
So, okay, no, we can take a look at that.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
you're welcome. So,
Thank you.
all right,
Thanks.
thanks.
Okay, this will be on the consent agenda next week. Superintendent's report, I don't think you have any changes, do you?
No changes, just to note that in addition to approving new staff, we are also approving our clerical substitute list this evening.
Any questions? I will take a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Who was
I am
the-
working
who was
on
the
that.
second? Who was the second?
Cutting that process down. Dr. Kozer,
Hello. Two quick items for you today. The first one is an agreement with Conestoga Valley Seeds as part of our federal programs application, Title III, that's our funding for our English learners. There's a piece in there that specifically talks about programs to serve immigrant families in the district. And so when we were writing our application, we didn't want to go out and create something for the sake of creating it when Seeds is already working with a lot of our immigrant families through their English language classes. So this, in our eyes, was a really good opportunity to partner with them to help support a program that they're already running for CV families focused on supporting our immigrant families. And so this proposal is providing for some of their expenses for their staff that then frees up the money in their budget for class materials, booklets, things like that. And so seeking approval for this next week on the consent agenda for our first kind of partnership piece with Seeds.
And this is federal pass-through money for that program.
Correct.
I worry going forward if we'll always be able to rely on grants.
Our Title III funding has just continued to grow every year because it's based on the number of English learners you have in the school district. And so you've seen that data that every year we consistently add more L's to the district. So the Title III has been, every year it's been increasing a little bit based on those numbers.
Is it increasing enough to cover the need?
No. Because Title III, if you remember, Title III is the supplement, not supplant. So the general English language programming comes through the district's budget. That's law. We've got to provide that. So this is to supplement what we have going on. And I mean, we could spend all of that money on effective translation, interpreting services alone. So always we could use more resources in that area particularly.
Any questions?
I was just gonna say, just to connect the dots a little bit, like from what I understand anyway, which is not a lot, but a little bit, most of those families, they bring their kids and they have childcare there, so there's that like full circle, connect the dots. It's a real like family oriented, so those kids are seeing what the district and the community is doing, so it's like a really like cohesive opportunity.
It is, and I'll add to that. Thank you for bringing it up, Dr. Martin. We also had an ESL teacher in the district who said, hey, could I come and offer some supplemental tutoring to some of our L's who we know there's a gap between grade level where they're. So now she's coming in to offer just some really small one-on-one tutoring sessions during these language classes. And it's becoming a broader partnership with a lot of different stakeholders at the table, which is what we know works when it comes to supporting this community.
Yeah, I support what Dr. Martin said. The district once tried this on their own with the idea that you have to have families involved. Yeah, and if you only teach them English during the school day and they go home and their parents are even begun to be fluent in English, that just slows the process down. But these people have a much better program. They take care of the whole family. They take care of some of the transportation or babysitting.
Dinner, all of it.
Yeah.
It really removes any barrier that could be there, and it is. It's building a sub-community within our school
We
system.
thought it was going to be easy. We'll just open it to families and they'll come, but
There's a lot to it.
it's more complicated. Okay. If there are no other questions, this will be on the consent agenda. And you are being joined by Dr. Mann? No, I guess not.
Not right now. So testing instruments is the second piece. I said to Dr. Hartman, this is short and sweet because I can say nothing has changed since we presented this to you last year. So we're keeping the same assessments, same grade levels, really diving into using that data. So we haven't made any changes to our major assessment plan at the district level this year.
Then if there are no questions, that too will be on the consent agenda. The final site contract is, I don't know whose that is.
And that is not me, that's me.
Yes.
There you go.
All right, so last August, you guys remember we did a website redesign. We did a couple of focus groups throughout the spring, the summer. Website looks great. Website company was bought out. So now we have to have a brand new website again. Fortunately, a lot of the staff, so Blackboard was our previous website provider. A lot of the staff has carried over to Final Site, which was the company that bought out Blackboard. So I've had a couple of preliminary discussions with them. I really like the new company. From a back end of the website perspective, their content management system is light years ahead of what Blackboard was. So I have no hesitations about continuing on with Final Site. They are offering us, you can see in the contract, it's laid out for the length of the contract, the years. They are, because they kind of bought out Blackboard, and we didn't really have a say in the matter, they're doing free content migration, so that's not a cost to the district. All of our stuff will carry over to the new site and they will handle that. Because we just did a website redesign and we like it and it looks good, they're offering us a couple of other extras that we would normally have to pay for, sort of nuts and bolts, a couple of extra sort of freedom to do what we want and how it looks, a couple of different you could place an extra thing here, an extra thing there, where normally we would be charged for that to add those kinds of extras. They're not going to charge us because we just did this whole website redesign and we like the way it looks. So they're gonna work with us to make it look different, but kind of function how we like it, because that's why we did all of that work last spring to get it to where we want it to look. So that will look different, but we're gonna keep the functionality as similar as we can in the new websites. The other component of Blackboard is Parent Link, which is the messaging component. So when you guys get all those emails and texts from me, that's Parent Link, which falls under Blackboard. Right now, that's not changing. Final Site's still taking a look at that component. They may decide to stick with it as it looks right now and how it functions. They may decide to have a brand new software program for that. Regardless, we'll still have the ability to reach all of our families. Right now, it's gonna stay the same. In a year or two, they may decide they don't like it, like they did with the content management system. They didn't like Blackboard, so they're not sticking with it. They may decide they don't like Parent Link anymore and they're gonna change it. But we will still have that capability. So on my end, it might look different, but for everyone else, it's gonna function as the same. So I had no hesitations to continue on Final Site. And so we'll sign a contract with them. We're signing it now. It will not be until the 24-25 fiscal year, but by signing it now, I can start that legwork of having the content migrated over and working on the new site and what it looks like.
Questions? Have you gotten input from anybody on what they do and don't like about our
Yes,
website?
that's what we did last spring. We sent out a bunch of surveys. We had parents, we had teachers, we had staff that weighed in. I ran that for a couple weeks. The survey was open to anyone that wanted to submit their feedback. What do you like? What do you not like? And that's kind of how we landed on this current website. Was with all of that feedback and worked it within what Blackboard couldn't do. There's tons of things I would love, but Blackboard can't do it. But we took as much as we could into consideration into designing the new site. Like you'll notice that big banner picture now at the top is more prominent than it used to be. With Final Site now, it is going to be much easier to not just have photos there, but to add videos there. So those kinds of looks that we really liked the big photos, well now Final Site's gonna take that and make it even better with a video component to it. So yeah, we took a lot of feedback in and what people do and don't like about it.
I know, and I'm not a parent right now, but I have found it cumbersome to sometimes find what I want and annoying that it doesn't seem to delete old.
It doesn't, and that will be another feature. That's why I mentioned that Final Site's content management system is much better. It's light years ahead. So instead of me trying to figure out where the heck someone ever uploaded a PDF from 2017, Final Site's content management system makes it so I don't have to dig for it. If I click on it, I know exactly where it lives on the website, and then I can go ahead and delete it. That's just not it's not a functionality in Blackboard right now. And so it makes it really hard to make sure you've deleted old info or that you don't delete something that was important. This will be much easier. It also tracks changes. So if I make a change and the next day it comes about, oh, that's wrong, Katie, go back to the original version. I can. Whatever I did is not deleted. I can go right back. So there's actual real-time editing capabilities and drafts. So if I do delete something, it's not gone forever with this new site. That's a great feature.
Okay, any questions? If not, this too will be on the consent agenda. Item F, the compensation study. Dr. Hartman, are you going to take that one?
Sure, if I can get it up here. Frozen. Oh. So this is just approval of support staff and administrator salary adjustments based on the PSBA compensation study. Adele's not here to answer, but I know she had shared out documents previously with some specifics about what those adjustments are. What we are looking for is we're looking for approval to act on the recommendations of the compensation study for the wage increases for our support staff and our administrators for the current school year, which is outlined. We're not looking for changes in language to any of the Act 93 agreement, support staff contracts. I know we've talked about maybe some need down the road for that. This is simply approval of the salary adjustments as recommended so we can move forward with implementing those and retroactive to July 1 of this year. So we can have conversations. We're continuing to look at language and how we can craft those documents so that we're not playing catch-up all the time, like we talked about with having to have this wage compensation study every 2 or 3 years. We're looking at strategies for that and ways we can maybe update those agreements. But for now, we just, because we're into September and really the fiscal year started July 1, we're looking for that final approval to move forward with making those adjustments.
So this affects mostly that minimum, mid, and maximum part of the contract. And the issue with titles we'll take care of separately. And I think it's great because the Adele is working on a way to update this annually. Because right now, every 5 years, we get behind. And that's not to anybody's advantage. Okay, we do need approval of that. If there are no questions, I will take a motion.
I move we accept the composition study as presented.
Second.
May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Gensel?
Aye.
Mr. Benigno?
Aye.
Mr. Dillman?
Aye.
Mrs. Capson? Aye. Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Our next issue is an amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement. We all worked on this, it's basically goals. Are there any questions or concerns? If not, can I have that motion, please?
Then motion to approve the amendment to Dr. Hartman's employment agreement to revise the agreed upon superintendent evaluation form and performance objectives for the 2023-24 school year. You can't, no, you can't say second, you have to repeat, I'm just kidding.
Take my second, no second.
Those objectives, by the way, those are part of his evaluation. It's reported on the website at the end of the year. So we will take a roll call vote for this one too.
Mr. Benigno?
Aye.
Mr. Dillman?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mr. Gensel?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye. The board agenda for next week is posted, at least in part. Anyone have any questions or concerns, anything they would like to have added to that specifically? Then we are at the point of the meeting where we will accept public comments on any issue that might come up. If not, there are board matters. Does any board member have an initiative they'd like to address? I'd like to take a moment just to do a sort of legislative update. I'm sure you're all aware that this is going into a presidential year and there's all sorts of bills and such out there. One of them is to move Pennsylvania's primary, which basically I'm fine with wherever they put it. But a lot of people don't realize there's an unintended consequence. Our budget calendar is based on the primary. That's why as the primary moves from a general primary to a gubernatorial primary to a presidential primary, our primary, nobody ever seems to know when primary is. Right now, we have to do our early version of our budget by February. If they move the primary another month, we'll have to do that in January. This has gotten completely out of hand. It's already not reasonable, the timeline they've given us. So I spoke to Adele about this, about PASBO getting on it, with the legislature, and anyone that would like to make a call or send a letter or email to your representative, they may not even realize that this is an unintended consequence. But it's really, it's taking a bad situation and making it even worse if that was possible. Okay. Other than that, if there's no other issues, I will take a motion to adjourn to executive session for legal and personnel reasons.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.